welcome to E by Gore, the horror movie franchise review podcast with me, Tris.
And I'm Damien. You like that? That's a great start, isn't it? That's a great start. You know what, Tris? I woke up this morning with a new tattoo on my wrist. It's not been there my entire life, but it's just appeared. And it's made me
Really?
it's made me start wanting to kill people. Have you any
Really?
idea what it might
It's really weird you say that because I ended up with one on my wrist as well. Which wrist, left or right?
be wanking at? We're right one, sorry, I mean.
Again, strange you say that because it's my wanking hand as well.
It's so weird. I feel like I've been cursed in some way. So yeah, I've got this mark on my hand. It's a cult of something or another.
Do you know what? I'm getting the word thorn.
Yeah, I think that's right. And the weird thing is, you know what? It's just never appeared in my life before, but it's almost as if somebody just threw it together at the last second and put it on my wrist
Do you
just
know
to kill
what?
a movie.
What actually happened with me was my 4-year-old got hold of a felt tip pen. I just randomly decided to draw on me, and since then I've not been the same. I just wanted to
Crazy.
kill people.
I tell you what else has got
Pretty much
crazy.
every dad, every dad with a
Crazy.
4-year-old.
Which leads us nicely onto Halloween 6, the curse of Michael Myers and the curse of Eli Gore, by the sounds of it. Yeah, so thanks for coming back, guys. We're on episode 6 in the Halloween franchise. Don't forget to give us a like, give us a subscribe, go and tickle that little bell down in the corner. Let us know what you think in the comments. You can get us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts from. Also on YouTube, facebook.com/ebygore, Twitter.
And as always, on OnlyFans, specifically if you're interested in Damo.
I used that joke in the last one. Basically, at ebygore or anything on all the other social media bollocks. And that's us, really. Who are you? How are you? What you guys been up to? Tell us. We'll wait.
Share with us what you've actually been watching, what you've seen recently. Tell us what you think of our franchise that we're dealing with at the moment. So, Damo, Halloween 6, pretty much halfway through the franchise now. Tell us, what is your history with this movie?
Very little. I watched it. I watched it about 5 or 6 years ago when I was tracking down all the Halloween movies before I had my beautiful Blu-ray box set, which I don't have in my possession at the moment because I borrowed it to my father. Need to hurry up and get those watched, Dad. I need it back. My Italian box set. But yeah, watched this one. Yeah, about 5 or 6 years ago. Didn't realize there was a producer's cut, because normally these things are called director's cut, but I think this was so shit and the studio interfered so much that they had to announce it as the producer's cut. A little bit like Alien 3, which has got, I think, the producer's assembly or the assembly cut or something like that, much like this. So I found out there was a producer's cut, and it wasn't until I got this Blu-ray box set, which I bang on about so much, that includes a producer's cut, that I watched that, which was only about 6 months ago or something like that, maybe even sooner. So the original Halloween 6, watched it a few years ago, and then the producer's cut a few months ago for the first time. And coming on the back of the 5th one, I had really high hopes for it because of how much I enjoyed the 5th one. For all its stupidity and ridiculous characters, the kills I thought were great, and I thought it was very, very watchable. So I had high hopes going into Halloween 6 beforehand. But oh my fucking god, dude. Oh my god, this movie. I don't even know if I want to go into it.
It's like you read my mind.
I've seen some shit in my time, mate. But I don't know if I ever seen shit like this before.
Do you know what? If I had to give an analogy for this movie, and bearing in mind, I have only actually watched the original movie. I haven't seen the director's cut, producer's cut, whatever other cut it is that they've happened to have released of this movie. You may as well just watch Punch and Judy.
Yeah.
For those people that aren't sort of in the UK and know what this great tradition of puppet Punch and Judy thing is, I'm not even sure if it's a thing elsewhere. Basically, a puppet whacks some things, throws some sausages around, whacks a few other things, job done. Pretty much sums up this movie.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. It's very convoluted. So I mean, like I said, guys, we're going to talk about Halloween 6 now, The Curse of Michael Myers, and I will talk about the producer's cut towards the end. Really, we'll go over it. I know it's only me that's watched that out of the two of us. We're not going to go blow by blow, as I say every week. It'd be fucking difficult to in this one because it's so convoluted and difficult to get your head around, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Again, we do spoilers. We say it every week. I don't know if I'm going to carry on saying it every week, but I will until someone stops telling me that we do spoilers. So we do spoilers. Go and watch this. I don't know where it's streaming. I think you can rent it for the low price of £3.50 on Amazon. If you're
£4 on Amazon.
Robin,
£4.
yes,
Four English pounds of my hard-earned money. It's stung. It's stung. And do you know what, mate? What makes it the only reason and the only thing that actually makes it better for me is that after I watched this, I was kind of like, what the hell did I just watch? But I took some comfort in knowing you fucking watched it twice. Not just once. You watched it once, realized it was shit, and so you thought, "Oh, I wonder if that director's cut's any better." And that's longer than the original. You watched it twice with extras.
That's a good point.
You've only got yourself to blame.
I do this for you guys out there. I'm a river to my people.
You are sharing the love, sharing the wisdom.
I'm like horror Jesus. I'm dying for your sins. I watch shit so you don't have to. And this is shit. I mean, spoilers for this movie. This is a lump of shit. There's no other way to describe this movie. But
this is dragging the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah,
this is as low as this franchise can ever go.
Yeah.
If you're still with us, don't switch off now. Wait for the craziness. It's gonna happen. Yeah. I'm gonna lose my shit pretty soon.
Well, let's talk about it because I feel like we might have similar opinions on this. But the first thing, I'm going to assume you guys have watched this if you've carried on watching it. If not, just enjoy the discussions. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is the disrespect shown to Jamie Lloyd as a character in this movie. So she's been the central point of the trilogy so far. And now, I don't rate the trilogy massively. I like the fifth one a lot. I didn't like the fourth one at all. So, but Jamie Lloyd, played by Danielle Harris in the last two, has been great. She's done really well with the material afforded to her, and we've grown to care about the character, mainly because other than Loomis, she's been the only character worth caring about in the last two movies. Now, at the end of Halloween 5, we saw the Man in Black break into the prison, kill everyone, and what we can take away from this is he broke Michael out of prison and immediately kidnapped Jamie Lloyd as well. Now, we zoom back into her life. Years later, she's grown. It's meant to be, 7 years later?
It's meant to be 6. It is. That's right. It's meant to be 6 years. So she was 9 years old in the 5th installment. And we are now 6 years on from this one. So she's essentially 15-year-old. So
25 if she's
passage of time.
Yeah, she looks 25 easy in this, but
you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Not that we're questioning the casting or anything like that.
I don't think she's great, to be fair. JC Brandy, I think, took over. I mean, no offense to her, she's played bit parts in a lot of stuff, but Danielle Harris did really well as the young Jamie Lloyd in this. So,
yeah,
but not just with disrespect in terms of the casting, but what we're to take away from this is she was kidnapped, held prisoner, raped, and then gave birth within this cult environment. Now, you've got to think that through. Like, she was kidnapped at 9, kept prisoner, and then was forced to have a baby for this cult. I know it's horror, and I know it's really shit to say there's too much disturbing things in your horror movie. I get that. I love disturbing stuff. But when it comes to, kids and insinuations of rape and stuff like that, it's not really my bag.
It's a crossover the line.
It is to say that we've got to know his character so well over the past two movies.
Yeah, it's a very big leap, and we're
And
not just talking time. We're talking about what's actually happened to her in this time and what's happening now, at the age of
yeah,
15, giving
yeah,
birth to a
exactly.
child at the age of 15. It's a very, very, very big leap, and it does push the boundaries of what's acceptable.
It is, especially for a film that's not very good like this one. I mean, there's a lot of movies, not so much with kids, but with like, you've got the whole rape revenge subgenre of horror movies, like I Spit on Your Grave, Last House on the Left, Mother's Day to a lesser extent, where these female characters are violated as a plot device and then come back and murder the rapists in very real ways. And it's very satisfying to see that as a conclusion. But this really never deals with the central theme that
No.
Jamie Lloyd was kidnapped and raped and then was forced to have his child. But that aside, so she's been kept down here. Michael is part of the Cult of Thorn. There's a lot of people in robes. They deliver this baby that is definitely not a newborn baby. I mean, you being a dad, you'll see
I'm sorry, but that baby is literally like 5, 6, 7 weeks old.
Yeah.
It is not a newborn baby. It's
No.
If anybody
It
out
looks
there,
months old
and I'm
to
sure
me.
there
It
will be
looks
plenty of
months old.
people.
Yeah.
Well, there'll be plenty of people out there that have obviously witnessed the miracle of birth, either be it as a dad or a mum or whatever. And they're all probably, if they've seen this movie, they will all be looking at this and going, that is not a newborn baby. It's far too well behaved.
Yeah, true that. Just losing my little glowy mask there. I
I
like
was
to
going to
keep
say, is your alter ego attacking you?
Yeah, it really is. Little,
Maybe it doesn't like you impersonating Thornley.
I call him Barry, Baz for short.
Baz. Good old
Typical
Baz.
Yorkshire name. So Jamie manages to escape via the help of a random nurse, which again is pretty weird because you got to assume this nurse has been there for the entire imprisonment of Jamie's life, and now all of a sudden is helping her escape.
She's got a conscience. She rediscovered it by some druid power.
Yeah, what a load of shit. So Jamie escapes. Michael kills her by picking this nurse up and shoving her head onto it. A very conveniently placed rusty nail in the middle of this corridor.
But at the same time, a very, very good early kill.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And from a bit of a difference from some of the earlier movies, there's not an instant death here. There is a little bit of suffering, and you're left to linger on it for a little bit. We talked a little bit about that in the fifth one, about how they changed the ways that the kills were sort of displayed, and that is continued in this one. I do quite like that. A nice early kill and that lingering death, that suffering, makes you think.
It does. It's all right. We're going to jump around the plot. We're not going to go blow by blow, like I said. But one thing that bugged me when watching this movie: why did Jamie go back to Haddonfield? Like, she was kidnapped from there. She knows that's where Michael goes. She knows that's where the cult is. She's got a van. I know Michael kills the van owner at some point. He snaps his neck, doesn't he, when she gets into the van. Like, why does she instantly drive back to Haddonfield? She's got the baby. She's got the car. Just fucking get on the freeway and get to a major city somewhere.
I know, but, it's like, 5 years have passed, We've not had a, tremendous slashing Halloween since then, I'm assuming.
She doesn't know that.
Unless that's a whole other franchise later.
Well, she doesn't know that. Well, all I'm saying is I've been kept prisoner for so many years. I was kidnapped in Haddonfield. I developed a psychic connection in Haddonfield. My uncle had tried to kill me in Haddonfield. A cult had abducted me in Haddonfield. I wouldn't be driving straight back there. What's she thinking? Jamie, come on.
Yeah, but
these characters, she wouldn't be doing it.
No, you're right there. But these characters, they make stupid decisions. Believability. It would not happen.
True, but Jamie Lloyd has not historically been stupid in terms of decision making, has she?
No, not at all. No.
So, what do you think? What do you think of Jamie Lloyd being killed off so early in Halloween 6, not the producer's cut?
Yeah, it was. I'm going to be honest. It was a bit of a shock because we've had 2 films of her essentially being final girl, and the first half of 5, she was treated like an afterthought. as we discussed last time. In this one, she's treated worse than an afterthought, and they fucking ram some shit through her. And yeah, it's literally like killing off the heroine. And right at the start of this movie, they give her a very, very focal point, a very main part. And yet again, bang, early death.
Yeah, again, it's a
Don't
bit like
like it.
Rachel in the first one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not so much. Yeah, not with her, but also it's quite far-fetched. So this movie focuses on the Cult of Thorn. Let's go into the Cult of Thorn a little bit. So I don't even know how to explain them, Tris. Like, I don't know what their motivations are. I don't know why they exist. I don't know what their aims are. I know that they've got
we don't really
Michael.
have any explanation for that either. There is no explanation for that. They're a druid cult, and randomly they, have many people that follow them, and for some reason they are controlling random serial killers.
Well, just Michael Myers. Like, but why? I mean, I know they talk about the runes slightly in this one, and Michael needs to kill his family, and anybody who enters Michael's house, Michael considers family. But I don't see where the benefit. I know that the guy, spoiler alert, the Dr. Wynn, who's Loomis's friend, turns out to be the head honcho of the cult, and he goes into that little speech later on, and he was like, Loomis is like, dude, dog, what the fuck are you doing this for? And he's like, Michael Myers is pure, uncorrupted evil, which I think is a bit of a contradiction in terms. I mean, surely evil is corruption. It's corrupted or pure, uncorrupted evil. Like, even if he is, what the fuck are you getting out of this?
I mean, this whole thing. I mean, obviously, a rune is a mark of some sort, and that explains the weird random tattoos that we have on our right hands.
True.
But look, it's not there anymore. Gone. But that's pretty much the only thing that we get any kind of explanation for. The guy is, I guess, the head of the sanitarium where Michael grew up, where he was captured. We learn a little bit more about potentially why Michael is like he is. We see that there is some other power at play here in the way that Michael is, and I don't like the way that that's gone down. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but I don't like it.
So this movie focuses a little bit more on a new set of characters. So we've got Kara. Is it Kara?
Kara. Yep, Kara.
Who is Kara Strode, and her son Danny, who have gone
randomly living in the Myers house.
Well, living with her mum and dad. with her mum and dad in the Myers house. So the story behind that is apparently Laurie Strode's mum and dad had a brother, which is obviously the dad, John Strode, and they couldn't sell the Myers house, so he let his brother John move into the Strode house, into the Myers house, as you do. He's such a dick, though, isn't he? Old Johnny Strode.
It's a bit of a dick. Absolutely.
What a bastard.
Yeah, he's absolutely a bastard. He's right. A bastard. Who can say the best Yorkshire bastard?
Bastard.
Bastard. We could actually do that for like 5 minutes, and people watch that on YouTube. Well, if you're Sean Bean, of course.
Sean Bean, yeah. Bastard. There's a French bastard in here. That's my favorite. Yeah, but yeah, going back. They call him as well. The two parent characters, they call them John and Deborah. Kind of after John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, who wrote and directed the original Halloween movie. And I'm not sure if that's like a nod of respect, because the characters are so fucking stupid, and John's a bastard that I don't know if it's like an indirect diss or something like that. But either way, he's a horrible character, and he's obviously hates his daughter for coming back and having this kid, and he's like, everything was great until you came back here with that little bastard. Doesn't say bastard half as well as a Yorkshireman does.
Not at all.
But yeah, he's such a horrible character, and there's not really any depth gone into like the reasons why he's such a bastard. I mean, in the producer's cut, there is a few extra scenes that goes a little bit into, where it's just other scenes of him looking out the window and insulting his daughter some more. So it doesn't really go into detail. It's just more scenes of him being a bastard. So, but also, yeah, this is so. There's a huge thing made in this movie about John's wife and the son not knowing that they're living in the Myers house.
Yeah, there is.
How fucking ridiculous is that? I mean, people are vandalizing that property at the beginning with statues of Michael Myers. It's probably the most famous house in Haddonfield. How do they not know?
Well, yeah, and literally, I'm assuming every Halloween in the 5 years that we've kind of been missing, people have literally turned out in Michael Myers masks and
Well, no, because
boiler suits and
they've banned
shit like that.
Halloween. They banned Halloween, haven't they? The story was that huge Halloween party that they had later on is the first time Halloween's come back since the last Myers
Oh,
murders
too
5 years
much.
ago.
There's too much footloose in that plot for me.
Yeah, it's a
Too
little
much
bit
footloose.
convoluted. It's a bit,
All
yeah.
we need is Kevin Bacon to sweep in, save the day. Job done. That would make a better movie.
I'd love to see Myers doing Footloose.
No, there's a skit we can do. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel for that, because that is going to happen.
Definitely.
I'm going to make it happen.
You can do that. But yeah, so I don't get why it's such a big deal, because she loses a shit, Deborah, the wife, when Loomis randomly wanders into her house and says, lets her know about Michael Myers and this used to be her house. What's Loomis doing fucking walking straight into somebody's house, by the way, as well?
Also, has he given up on Halloween and taken up Christmas? Because he looks very much like Santa Claus in this movie.
You need to watch your tone talking about so Donald Pleasance.
There's nothing wrong with Santa Claus. Santa Claus is great. Everybody loves Santa.
He's also
I love Loomis. I love Santa. There's nothing more than I'd like to see Santa Claus walk into somebody's house and go 6 times. And
he's also very close to death in this movie. He
absolutely
died during post-production.
Yeah.
And I think you've not seen the later incarnations yet, but going forward, the franchise is always weaker for not having Donald Pleasance in it. He's the only reason I carried on watching these, other than the podcast. It's the only reason I ever go back to him is how good he is in these movies. So, R.I.P. belatedly. I mean, it was 1995, 1996, so it's been a while. But yeah.
It's been a while, but no, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I think, he is a great character in this movie.
He's the best. And this is what's missing, mate. Yeah, go on. Go.
I was just going to say he's retired now in this movie. He's away from, he's not practicing medicine anymore, and
he ever was.
He's distinctly less crazy. He's more grounded for the most part. He's the character that you've come to love. The character that you've come to.
He does, yeah. In this one.
Yeah. He's living as a bit of a hermit.
Yeah,
he's living as a hermit. He's retired. He's moved to the outskirts of Haddonfield, just in case he comes back. He's still on the outskirts, just on the outside, so he can jump back in right when he needs to.
Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in.
But yeah, he's definitely looks more of a broken man. He's older. He's less crazy. He's more calm. He's retired from medicine, as he mentions in the film. But he's still one of the shining lights in this movie, and he makes it better for him being in there.
He's in it way more in the producer's cut. He's in it so much more. Like, the problem with this movie is I find there's a massive lack of Donald Pleasance in this.
Lack of Loomis.
Yeah, lack of Loomis in the theatrical cut. In the producer's cut, he's got so many great cheesy lines and really over the top stuff. Not so much the crazy side, but definitely peak Loomis in this. There's some great footage that was cut and is in the producer's cut, which is the reason I give the edge to the producer's cut over the theatrical. I'm not saying it's a better movie, but there's more Donald Pleasance in it, so as a result, it's more entertaining to watch anyway. But he's great in this. He kind of, in the theatrical cut, as I remember, because I watched the producer's cut last, but in the theatrical cut, they're trying to pass the baton to Tommy Doyle, played by a very, very young Paul Rudd.
Very young. It almost doesn't look like the same guy until he turns to the side, and then you think, hang on a minute, that's Mike from Friends.
Mike, is that where you know Paul Rudd from?
Well, that's not the only thing. Oh, fuck me, he's Ant-Man.
I don't know. I'm saying is either thing that you know, like when you think back to certain actors in certain things. Like I'm the same as you. If I think of Paul Rudd, I think of Mike from Friends. But there's a whole generation of people that won't know him from that and will just know him as Ant-Man.
Yeah, I mean, for me, yeah, it is always Mike from Friends. I think that's where the first thing I sort of registered Paul Rudd as an actor from. But he's done this whole heap of shit since,
He's
Ant-Man,
great, isn't
Ant-Man
he? He's
versus
great in
Wasp.
this as well.
Yeah, he is. He's pretty good. He's very, very young, and I think if I remember rightly, this is his first sort of starring film role.
Yeah, it's his first starring role. Yeah, I think he was in some shit movie before this, but this is his first starring role, and I think he's good. They're trying to pass the baton from like going forward. If this film was successful, the idea was to have Paul Rudd take over the mantle of Loomis and be the crazy Michael Hunter going forward. Obviously, the film failed, but you can see with the interplay and the dialogue that Loomis and and Paul Rudd have, that there's definitely that kind of unhinged aspect to Paul Rudd's character and to Tommy Doyle, who was
Definitely. I think that's the anchor as well, isn't it?
yeah,
The anchor back to the first one, that we're reverting back to this character that we saw in the very first movie.
yeah.
And we've got that anchor with, the whole, Strode family, if you like. That is the thing that brings this particular film back to the other ones, and between. It's nice.
It's a good touch. I feel like if they'd have concentrated a little bit more on that and a little bit less on all the other convoluted shit, it would have been a better movie for it.
I totally agree. Totally
Like,
agree.
like the kid Danny, Kara's son. So he is hearing voices. He's obviously living in the Myers house, and he's hearing voices from the cult in his head, telling him to kill for him. In the theatrical cut, he even goes as far as holding the knife up to his granddad's stomach, doesn't he, after he's hit his mum? So I feel like they're trying to do with Danny what I wanted them to do with Jamie at the end of Halloween 4. They're trying to bring Danny into the fold and train him up, what I assume to be the next Michael Myers, by telling him to kill for him. He's trying to get Danny to kill the family in the same way Michael did. What did you think about that?
I think pretty much same as you said it there. It was what we wanted them to do with Jamie, but I think it would have worked a lot better. I'm quite liking looking at you actually trying to, drink your brew.
It's either it's a choice of doing this or wasting a full cup of Yorkshire tea biscuit brew. I'm not willing to do
that. Just look at that in all its glory. Brilliant.
This is why I've got a mask with a mouth on
it. Just going back to the whole Danny thing, it's like they're continuing that psychic connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like it.
No, me
I've thought about it. I don't like it. I tried to give it, sort of more consideration in this one, but you mentioned that word a few times, convoluted.
Yeah.
That's this movie all over. None of the stories they don't match up with any substance that make me believe in it. It's just that they're like lots of little subplots all going off that don't actually make anything.
True. I tell you, just to jump around the plot a little bit more, I fucking hate the DJ in this movie.
He's a bit of a dick.
I can't remember his name, but I'm gonna hang on. I've got my Wikipedia up here. Let me get this fucking cast. What's his name?
Do you know what he reminded me of? Jake Paul.
I don't really know. I mean, I know his name.
It's some YouTuber that likes to fight boxers and put knockout clauses in his contracts that he can't be knocked out or something. I say he reminds me of him. He's kind of that character that you just want somebody to absolutely twat and knock out, but for some reason you can't.
Barry Sims. That's the DJ's called Barry Sims in this, I think. Yeah, there's that whole scene where he's doing that radio show from the party, and he turns to the son's girlfriend. He's like, I bet you wear crotchless panties and bark like a dog. And it's so out of context. It's like, dude,
He's
what a
clearly
dick.
stoned or drunk or something.
He definitely earns his death in this. But again, in the theatrical cut, it's done very stupidly. So, like, Myers is in the Myers house killing someone and then transports all the way across to the party into the back of a van randomly. Just
By
to kill this
teleportation. Beam me up, Scotty.
To kill this DJ. To then transport immediately back to the Myers house to then kill the two teens that are fucking in there. In the producer's cut, he's in there because it's actually a Cult of Thorn van, and the DJ just randomly gets into the wrong van. So there's a little bit more thought to it, although it's still pretty fucking stupid because he manages to get across and still kill the kids. And there's that little fucking girl that there's the body in the tree, and she's like, "It's raining red, mommy." How do you get to that age and not know what fucking blood is? Like, she's blatantly 9 or 10 years old.
It was a bit of a tame one, that one, wasn't, where he sort of drops down and he's dead, and I want to see more. I want to see more of you trying to drink your brew.
Would you think?
Do you know what? The people listening on audio will not see the hilarity of what I am seeing right now. They're missing out. If you are listening on podcasts, please look it up on YouTube, because it's fucking hilarious seeing him trying to drink a brew through a skeleton mask. It's hilarious.
Do you think less of me for drinking the tea through my mask, or would you think less of me for wasting a fresh cup of biscuit brew? I don't, but
no, but I think you really, really should. Maybe just have another go. I'm gonna. There you go. Do it again. Do it again.
Right, kids. Don't waste a cup of Yorkshire tea. I'm trying not to slurp.
I just look. It's like step up a lip. I can't even speak. That's it. I've lost. I promised I'd lose my shit. I've lost my shit.
I nearly spat
Damien trying to drink. Damien trying to drink through a mask.
And still, I do not reveal my true identity.
Just wait till the post edit. Just wait till the post edit. There's a picture of you going up.
That cup of tea will bang in.
It's the theatrical gore thing of lifting the teeth up to get a brew.
I know. I should put some fake blood underneath next time.
Speaking of brews, mine's going cold.
And you've not even got a mask on. You could probably get one though, ugly cunt.
Anyways,
C-bomb dropped. 45
it's
minutes or whatever.
It's not the first time in this series, shall we say. I think Thundercunt came out somewhere.
Thundercat's one of my favourite insults of all time. Whoever made this movie is a grade A Thundercunt. Let's have a look who it was. Director Joe Chappelle. Wikipedia telling me. Who's Joe Chappelle?
I've never heard of him.
Oh, he directed a lot of episodes of The Wire. I've never seen The Wire.
What? No, me neither.
It's meant to be
sounds a bit boring. It sounds boring.
You know what? The thing is with The Wire, it's a bit like Breaking Bad, even though I love Breaking Bad. If somebody's seen The Wire, they will always tell you that they've seen The Wire. It's almost like veganism. Within 15 minutes of meeting them, they will talk to you about The Wire. See, I did it myself with Breaking Bad just there.
You mean talk, or do you mean preach?
Preach. People. I know people that preach The Wire to me. I've got a friend who, every time I see him, say, "Have you watched The Wire yet?" No, dude, fuck off. I don't want to watch The Wire. But anyway.
Do they glue themselves to highways and motorways? And why did it say highways first? British. That's not Yorkshire at all.
I know.
Do they glue themselves to road?
Do they glue themselves to A51? No, they don't.
We digress.
So yeah, he's directed some stuff, some of The Wire. He's done a lot of crime shows, CSI Miami, Chicago Fire, Acceptable. Fuck knows, man. He's not done really anything that interesting, including Halloween 6.
Maybe this was like a training exercise for all the other stuff that came later.
Yeah, maybe. This show has gone fucking off the rails, mate. We've lost all semblance of structure to this.
There's a reason for that. You can't have any structure when it comes to this movie. It is literally just a whole heap of shit going into one thing, and we followed that trend.
Following the structure of the movie, aren't we? We're just making this podcast really convoluted. I've talked more about tea than Halloween 6. And I don't
To be
really
honest,
care.
there's not really much to talk about, really, when it comes to Halloween 6, if we're being brutally honest.
Let's talk about...
Which we always are.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about a bit more about the plot. So Paul Rudd, Tommy Doyle, I'm going to call him Paul Rudd because that's how I know him as.
It feels better.
It feels better, rolls off the tongue. But so he's researching Michael Myers. He's got all the clippings. I tell you what, he comes across he does weird well. And he does really weird when he suddenly befriends Danny, Karen's kid, and ends up in his bedroom. And the mother walks back into the room, and he's just there, sat with a baby next to it, next to her son. I don't know about you, I mean, you're a dad. If I walked into my daughter's bedroom and saw a fully grown bloke in there, I don't care if he was sat a million miles away from me, he'd be going out the fucking window.
No, I agree with that. But we're talking, what is it, 1989, this one?
Yeah, no, 1995, mate. There's 6 years between this and the last one.
You're right there. I'm thinking of 5. God, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is a bit weird. It
is. And there's a few nods to the original movie there. So, like when
there is, definitely.
When Tommy first meets Danny and Danny jumps and drops the pumpkin, that's kind of a throwback to when Tommy Doyle in the first one gets bullied by them kids and drops his pumpkin. But I think the danger of doing clever nods to other movies in movies like Halloween 6 is you're constantly reminding people they could be watching better films.
I agree with that. Yeah, definitely.
So he gets this baby, which he finds in a bus station, because of course he does.
Yeah, that's what you find in Barnsley bus station all the time.
What, babbies?
Just babbies.
Instead of dropping them off at an orphanage or a hospital, they just drop them down interchange.
No, they just leave them there on purpose. Them down deal with that babby and that prob.
Well, he finds a baby in there. I mean, I find it hard to believe because there's a baby in a locker in there. I find it hard to believe that nobody's found it so far. Nobody's needed a piss and heard a baby cry.
Babies cry, they shit, they puke, they piss,
Yeah. So it gets really convoluted. So Tommy Doyle, Paul Rudd meets Loomis. They hatch this plan to fight Michael or whatever. Michael goes on the killing spree. He kills the Strode kid. I can't remember what the guy's name is. The guy who's doing the radio show. Kills his girlfriend. Some really good kills. So he slits the guy's throat in the shower, which is a really good kill. And he strangles. Does he strangle the girlfriend?
He stabs her, doesn't he? That's the point where we see Clara watching from across the road, isn't it?
Oh,
with the weird old camera, and she's like warning her, somebody behind you, and then obviously she sees the whole kill. While that's happening, she's getting like weird flashbacks every time the stab goes in. She's getting the sort of like nods back to the previous movies.
Yeah, and then Paul Rudd's basically said to them to keep Danny and keep yourself out of the Myers house because then Myers will try and kill you because anybody goes into the Myers house, he believes it's his family and wants to kill him. And then Danny automatically just fucking hears a voice in his head and runs across to the Myers house. And then they meet back up with Paul Rudd and Loomis. And then they can all hear the voice in Danny's head. Like the kill for me. And then they can all hear, and then they walk into the next room and Dr. Wynn's there because the baby's gone missing. And Dr. Wynn's there with his cult friends. And then Kara just throws herself out the fucking window.
Yeah, that whole thing was a little bit weird because you see sort of like Danny, you see him, he goes in and she follows him, but she follows him.
Yeah, of course.
She's just seen Michael Myers is in there, massive serial killer in Haddonfield. everybody knows who he is, but I kind of get you going in after your kid and that type of thing, but then she pulls out this poker and she walks up the stairs like holding this poker out in front of her, and
Yeah,
it's all a bit cheesy and a little bit tame and a little bit stupid, if I'm honest.
it is stupid, and it kind of like so we get up there with the cult, and she throws herself out of the window, which would fucking kill her
That was just
instantly.
ridiculous. It
And
was literally, it came from nothing as well. It's like, oh, people's chasing me. I'll just throw myself out the window.
yeah,
And then you see
and
her
then
there, like, dead.
yeah, and then it's really badly edited because Loomis and Paul Rudd just run back outside, like as if the
And they're like,
cult's just like,
where's Cara?
yeah, and Paul Rudd's like, I feel like we've been drugged, and Loomis is
Yeah.
like, we have been drugged, but like, so what? The cult have just let you go? Like they've just been holding you prisoner. It's really clunky the way
It's
it's
almost like
done,
there's a whole section of film that wasn't added in there for the final cut.
and
It
it's not in
just
the
jumped
producer's
around.
cut. It's not in the producer's cut. There's a lot of new footage in the producer's cut, but none of it makes that scene any better. It's still chopped in the exact same way. The only difference is in the producer's cut is they're all dressed in them robes,
Yep.
those ceremonial robes. Because what happens in the producer's cut is they take Kara to this satanic-like ceremony as if they're trying to, and then they wanted to sacrifice the baby because essentially the plan in the producer's cut is that Michael has to murder his entire family before he can pass on the Cult of Thorn to somebody else, and they want to pass the Cult of Thorn on to Danny.
Yeah.
But it
Whereas
makes
in
no sense.
the original,
Yeah,
it's about that Michael has to sacrifice his essential next of kin, isn't it, on
yeah,
Halloween before he's able to actually pass on the baton, if you like.
yeah, exactly. But it makes no sense because in the producer's cut, they make it very clear in a disgusting turn that the baby is Michael's and that he's the one who's raped Jamie and that the
Yeah.
baby is his, which makes no sense in the concept of a producer's cut because if he has to kill all of his remaining family to pass the curse of Thorn on, why is he then having more children? Because it's just
Why
another
the
thing you have to kill.
that's what you see in that. I'm just looking and thinking, it's his niece. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. An incestual plot is never good.
No.
But yeah. So in the go back to the theatrical cut. So in the theatrical cut, they head back to the sanitarium or the hospital, don't they? From the first one,
They do.
where Michael was kept. They Paul Rudd finds. You explain it because I watched the producer's cut last night.
Where are we at? I'm literally lost.
So Ruddy finds her, and they run back in. They manage to find Danny somehow. Is what I recall. And then they walk into this room, and they find out that Michael was genetically created to be like super strength, and this curse is what's keeping him immortal. Because they got all this weird luminous green shit that Tommy fucking stabs into Michael's neck, which is really weird.
Oh yeah, the syringes things where he literally
Yeah,
like jams it in and then he literally beats the shit out of him with some weird pipe or something else. And in the original thing, that is kind of essentially where the main action. You're in this end scene, and that's what you get. And
yeah, it's
then
very abrupt.
he's getting all these flashbacks, isn't he? And sort of like going back to the previous movies, every time he strikes him, he's getting those flashbacks like Danny had earlier on.
Yeah,
And then just when you think it's over, and you think we're all literally willing him to go, fucking hit him again.
yeah.
Don't
Kill him till
stop
he's dead.
there. Kill him till he's
Till he's
kill him
fucking
till he's
dead.
dead. And then he turns around and hits him one more time. Then he literally like walks out. And
Yeah, just runs.
it's just it's a massive letdown of a final scene. It's not the final scene because then we go out and they end up in the car and they're on the way to whatever it is that they're doing. And Loomis is there and he says he needs to stay. He needs to, take care of business.
Yeah,
And at that point, you kind of think something more is coming. But in the sort of original movie, I haven't seen obviously the additional stuff. All you hear are the screams of Loomis. You see the Michael Myers mask on the floor. as it cuts to it, and that is the end of the original. So many unanswered questions, so much confusion, I guess. And as we mentioned earlier, Donald Pleasance did actually sadly pass away during, the post edit of this movie. So kind of felt like there was more to give, but they had to end it somewhere, and it was very much like an afterthought. And I think you have some thoughts on this, Damien, with regards to the producer's cut or whatever it is that they called it, and how they actually changed that.
Yeah, so the producer's cut is the original pre-theatrical release cut, and they screened it for test audiences who didn't like it. So they tried to do all these reshoots, but during the reshoots, that's when Donald Pleasance passed away. So they had to cobble together what they could for the theatrical release. And being honest, I know they advertised the producer's cut as having like 70 minutes of new unedited footage. It's nowhere near that amount. It's pretty much the same film, but with a different soundtrack. The soundtrack's better in the producer's cut because it's music that was previously composed for older Halloween movies, so it's got a retro audio experience, which is better than what I think the dancier version in the sixth one is, which is very 90s, pretty shitty. But where they differ is in the amount of focus given to the Cult of Thorn. Not that it makes it any better, but it just puts a greater emphasis on it. So one of the big differences between the producer's cut and the theatrical version is that Jamie survives much longer. So she drops the baby off. She does the phone call into the DJ to let Loomis knows. She bumps into Michael in a barn. It's a decent suspense scene, but instead of getting thrown onto like that sharp thing, whatever it was, she just gets stabbed. But she survives it, and that's how Loomis knows that she's alive and learns more about it. She goes to hospital, and then later on in the movie, the Cult of Thorn just shoot her in the head, which is still a bad way for the character to go, and also begs the question: if the Cult of Thorn is able just to shoot people willy nilly, why do they need Michael Myers? I don't understand it. But yeah, and then the climax of the movie is completely different in the producer's cut. So instead of Paul Rudd running through the hospital and having that big fight scene at the end, they get these rune rocks or whatever and realize they can cancel out the negative energy, the evil energy. We never address the fact that that would also cancel out the good energy, but fuck that. Anyway, it's too convoluted. And essentially, Michael's just about to get him when Paul Rudd just gets on his knees and shakes these runes like dice and manages to freeze Michael in place, which is really weird. And then I think he gets knocked to the floor or something. They escape. He puts them in the car like he does in the theatrical cut. They fuck off in the car. But Loomis goes back inside, and we see it this time. And Wynn he pulls off Michael's mask, and it's Dr. Wynn. So obviously Michael's escaped and fucking locked Wynn in. And then in a bizarre twist, he grabs Loomis's hand and says, the curse is now yours. Which again makes no sense because apparently Michael needed to kill his old family before he could pass the torch on, pass the curse on. But now apparently it works like a game of tag, and he just tags Loomis. And then we see Loomis do the screams, and it makes a bit more sense with Loomis screaming at the end. And then we see Michael drop his mask.
But it's not even Michael passing on the baton, is it? It's Wynn.
No, it's fucking Wynn. I don't know how that works. And then we see Michael Myers dropping his mask, and he becomes the Man in Black. We don't see his face, but we see a Man in Black that was Michael Myers walk off. Out of the two, I prefer the producer's cut purely because it's got more Donald Pleasance in it. It doesn't make a bad film better by any stretch of the imagination. It's still a piece of shit. But it just goes into a bit more detail on the culty side of it, and we get a lot more Donald Pleasance. So that wins for me. And that's pretty much it, really. I mean, I don't think we can talk too much more on this.
No, not at all. Shall we put a bow on it?
Yeah. Okay. So
shall we?
Okay. You want me to go first?
I'll let you go first on this one.
Thank you. So this movie's a fucking piece of shit. It's an absolute slog. I'm gonna say it as I mean it on this one. I've seen some shit in my time. This movie is well up there with some of the worst that I've seen. The kills are good. Probably saving grace is some of the kills are good. Probably better in the theatrical because they reshot a lot more gore for it. So, like when they kill John Strode, they electrocute him and stab him at the same time and his head explodes because fuck physics, right? Um, in the producer's cut, that doesn't happen. He does get stabbed and electrocuted, but he just sort of froths and dies, like a bit more realistically. But so the kills are good in the theatrical cut, but they're a bit darker. Like I say, killing Jamie off, and killing, a couple of the main characters' kids. It's pretty brutal. So it's got that going for it. But the plot is convoluted. We take some pretty big missteps with characters that we've grown to care about through the last three movies. The cult thing, without having a real motivation for what it is, why it's there, what it wants to achieve, it doesn't make any sense. Michael, he becomes redundant to a large extent in this movie. He's just a pawn really being used, which takes away a lot of the lore from the previous movies. And yeah, it's just shit. The producer's cut goes into more detail, but it doesn't make a bad film good. It's just another version of a shit film. So I don't see myself returning to this movie anytime in the next 5 or so years because I'm just fucking done with it. So for me, this gets three unexplained cults out of 10.
So pretty low score for you, really, because
Yeah.
I know you. Obviously, I'm pretty much a noob. We've discussed that many times, but for me, you've pretty much took the words out of my mouth. If I'm being honest, a lot of.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Do you know what? I would love to explore that a little bit more. Maybe do a musical version. But yeah, particularly the whole druid cult thing, the whole witchcraft. It's taken on a totally different level. It is literally like they thought, what should we do now? I don't know. We'll just throw in some druids, throw in some robes. Did you notice as well, by the way, there's sort of like the triangle motif? The first thing I thought when I saw that was Squid Game.
No, I've not seen Squid Game.
No, neither have I, but I've just seen social media like red
Oh,
light,
right,
green
yeah.
light. So
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
that's what I thought when I saw like the whole druid thing. But yeah, Michael has been made out for so many movies to be this whole monster. I buy into that.
Yeah.
It is totally evil. It is unharnessed evil. It cannot be controlled. He comes back. You kill him, he comes back. He's just evil. He's just pure nasty. There's nothing about it. In this movie, they give it subcontext, and there becomes a reason as to why he's like that. There becomes a reason. There becomes a control factor to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that because it takes away everything that Michael Myers is. This whole slasher character concept now has a reason. It has a control. He literally becomes a tool for something else.
Yeah.
It takes away every little bit of horror side of things, every bit of scare that there is there, and he just becomes a tool and a pawn in everything else. I don't like that. It's pretty tame. Yes, the kills are pretty good, and we get a couple of very quick kills in the main version. I don't know if that's the same in the producer's cut or not, but the kills come pretty quickly. I quite like the exploding, John Strode. It's totally
I do like an
unrealistic.
exploding head. I'm a big fan of an exploding. It's done better in Scanners though by David Cronenberg. That's the ultimate exploding head in horror. You'll get to see that at some point.
I'm sure I will, but this one, it's very unrealistic, but there's a lot of gore, the whole explosion thing. The kills are definitely better. They follow on, from 5 with better kills than some of the previous ones. But overall, the story is tame. The characters are tame. I don't like it overall. It's pretty shit, if I'm being honest, and that's being kind. I could go into a whole rant about why it's unrealistic. It doesn't work. I'm not gonna. I am gonna give this a really sloppy shitty 2.5 exploding heads out of 10.
Yeah. So we kind of fall on the same side when it comes to Halloween.
I think so.
6.
Yeah, with this one.
It's a piece of shit.
It didn't hold my attention.
It did at times for me, but purely because it's that far-fetched and ridiculous. And that's even
morbid curiosity.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Cool, so that's Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, and so ends...
It could only get better from here. It could only go up.
So ends the Thorn Trilogy, and so next week we will be looking at Halloween H2O, the 7th movie of the franchise.
Is this like some nod to water or something? Because I haven't seen this one, but H2O, water.
No. Everybody out there who's Halloween or horror fans, please feel free to comment about what a fucking stupid comment that is from Chris.
Feel free.
This is basically, instead of Freddy versus Jason, they did Michael Myers versus Jaws, and that's where Halloween H2O comes in.
Okay. Yeah, I genuinely have no idea if you're joking or not, and I'm also trying to work out, is this Jaws the shark or Jaws from Bond? Too many questions, dude.
Neither. So H2O is Halloween 20. It was released 20 years after the original Halloween.
Yeah, he's still not selling it to me.
It's a return of Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's a bonus, right?
Absolutely. We will talk about it more next week. Don't forget, guys, check us out on social media, facebook.com/eByGore, Twitter, Insta, or
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
I'm determined that somebody is going to set up an OnlyFans for you.
I think at this stage, this is saying more about you than me, mate. But let us know what you think in the comments section. Also, check out some of the other videos we're going to be doing. We're doing some skits. I am currently reviewing the Chucky TV series. Huge Child's Play fan over here. Fucking love me some Chucky. And the TV series has just come out. I'm talking about it and reviewing it episode by episode. Check out that. I think Tris is possibly looking at doing the Scream series at some point.
I am absolutely. I'm just about to start it, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, so check out some of those solo videos, all still under the eByGore banner. It'll only be YouTube only. We won't be releasing those on audio. But let us know what you think. Check out the stuff. Keep sharing, keep liking, and who knows, maybe we'll get above 10 views. We'll see you soon, guys.
Take care.
Bye.